everybody. Welcome to the next in the series of Confessions of a Business Owner webinar. This was really developed because a lot of business owners get trapped in the very business that they developed that they thought was going to free them. And one of the things that they really struggle to get their head around is purpose, why they exist in business. And so this series is really aimed at getting under the bonnet, getting under the skin of the people that I'm talking to really understand what drives them in business, what's their purpose and their passion, and how are they going to serve the community that they look after. If we can do that, and we can really understand what it is that they do and how they serve that community, we can really start to build and develop some skills as business owners to stop so many failing. There's 95% of business owners, small business owners, ultimately fail. And so what happens when they're trapped is they either continue on that routine, thinking that one day their luck's going to come in and they're going to escape, they're going to become untrapped, or they ultimately fail. And that's a heartbreaking statistic. So this series is all about helping you understand your purpose and your passion and developing those skills to help you develop the business that you love. So this afternoon, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Sally Roberts of Fun Training for Results. And she's going to talk to us this afternoon about how to be a sales ninja in these difficult times. So Sally, good afternoon.
Hello, Gary. Hello, everybody. Really nice to see you all.
Absolutely. So Sally, just for those that don't know you, just give us a three-line whip. Just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you come from, how long you've been doing it.
Selling customer service, client service forever. Usually work with amazing companies who are absolutely hungry and passionate about delighting clients, and that affects the bottom line in all positive ways.
And you've been doing that for how long? Just tell us, because you've been, what's got you to this point?
So Leeds girl, back in the days when Mr. Craig's was in the centre of the Leeds, if anyone can.
I've been there.
Yeah. And there was a kebab shop outside. But when I was really young, I used to do car wash rounds. So it's always about going out and making money, and I'd wash the cars, get the money, go back, wash the cars, enjoyed that. Then went off to do business at Oxford, which was pretty cool, but got a Saturday job working at Comet, so I'd be selling extended warranties, made a small fortune, but really enjoyed being around and looking after people. Went into credit control for a short burst. That was slightly weird, but then really got my teeth into sales when I went to work on the classifieds, doing things like the BMDs, was promoted from BMDs, which is birth, marriages and desks, and I was able to then look after the plumbers. That was very exciting. Then they gave me a car. I got a Maestro. Do you remember the Maestros?
Oh, yes.
Hit off a shovel. It got nicked, and it was found in Newcastle, burnt out, but then, yeah. And so that was when working on Run a Paper, and I used to have an area in Oxford called Bicester. And I made sure that I got to look after and get to know all of my clients, not for the deal, not for the transactional, but to really look after and nurture them. And then from the back of there, ended up in London as sales trainer for the Daily Express, United Advertising, working with brands like Exchange and Mart and Dalton's Weekly. That was immense because you were working with, and this is where the training came in, you were working with salespeople who politely were kind of crazy animals, and they were used to closing a deal with a bottle of Sov and a fancy lunch, and then probably getting, I don't even know if this is correct, but high or stoned, or getting the absinthe from the safe. And this was at lunchtime on a Wednesday, and they'd party, but it didn't matter because on the Monday they'd have the deal. And I had to train them. So there was no way on this earth I could bring them into a classroom and talk at them. So I'd take the chairs out of the room, would play rave music or Earth, Wind and Fire or burn incense, anything to get their engagement. And what happened, because it worked, they made more commission, they bought the Porsche, they kept coming back and back and back. So key parts of that was about looking after your client, really understanding them, doing the right thing, but also having a shed load of fun.
And that's the important thing, is it have fun while you do it, because sales doesn't need to be this dirty word that everybody's frightened of. Yeah. So Sally, I've known you for a while now, and knowing the skills that you have and the work that you do, there's a number of different jobs that you could do, there's a number of skills that you have, but why is it you're doing this? Why is it that you're working with those small business owners to help them sell better? Why that?
So there were three reasons why I created Fun Training for Results about 4 years ago. One of the key ones is I'd stayed in media, It was cool, but they paid over £20,000 to send us on a really fabulous, highly regarded training course. And we went to Knutsford. There was 8 of us, and the team I knew really well. And we sat in a classroom for 2 days being talked at about funnels and bar charts and graphs and slides and detail. And I swear to God, Gary, you'd look around the room, nobody got it. Yeah. Nobody got it. They might have spent 20 grand and just chucked it. It was a waste of money. And I like a lot of entrepreneurs, I just looked and thought, I can do better than this. I've done better than this when I was in London. What am I doing? And I'd like to say there was some great big calculated moment. There wasn't. A few weeks later, on the Monday, I phoned my sister and I said, I'm thinking of setting up fund training for results, because I'd registered the name weirdly 20 years previous. And I resigned on the Tuesday. It was that clear, because every single person in that training room, that training company, taking every penny from that company, that wasn't about a relationship with a client. That was a transaction, and it wasn't fair and it wasn't right. And I don't like training for the sake of it. I like training when people get the results, when they phone me and say, hey, this cold calling stuff you did with us, Sally, it actually works, doesn't it? Or when people use LinkedIn and they get referrals, or more recently, if they watch a webinar and they know how to get a return on investment. Training for the sake of it just does not do it for me. And one of the key reasons was watching an amazingly respected company just do what was being done 20 plus years ago. And it's not, people don't, we've got a 20-minute attention span. Yeah. Make it exciting, tell them a story, fire people up so they can take it, use it, learn it, get the results, and then they come back and refer.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, for many of us on the call this afternoon, we have that light bulb moment, and it's usually where we're experiencing something that's delivered poorly, or it doesn't deliver a result, and we think, do you know what, we can do that much better. And the reality is, for most business owners, that is the light bulb moment that says, I can do this. Yeah. But what happens is you've got this fantastic kind of concept, you know, you want to deliver this brilliant product or service, but the reality is, when you get a couple of years in, for many businesses, that actually the reality is different to the dream. So it's about keeping that fire in your belly all the time to make sure that you're constantly living and breathing and loving that ability to deliver sales in a fun way that delivers ROI.
And knowing your niche. I don't touch leadership, I don't touch management. I've got people I refer for that. I absolutely know my niche. If it's sales, client service, customer service, sales process, know it inside out, upside down. And I'll send people elsewhere for the other stuff. In the same way I wouldn't dream of doing my accounts or servicing my boiler. I've got Amanda's team to do that. Why would I? I know my niche and I know my area of expertise. And I think to keep the fire in your belly, Gary, as well, the network, the people around you, like I know you and there's people on this call today who I would consider really close sort of colleagues who drive you and empower you. And I call it flying with eagles. You need to keep being just inspired and around great people.
Well, if you surround yourself with chickens, you cluck, and if you surround yourself with eagles, you fly, right?
Yes, indeed.
And so that network's absolutely fundamental. Yeah. So Sally, just talk to me about this concept of sales, right? I'm sales trained. I've been on more courses than enough, right? But the reality is, for most small business owners, if not all small business owners, they have to sell to put food on the table. They've got to sell their product or service. But probably 95% of small business owners have had no formal long-term sales training for a variety of reasons. So they're left having to sell to just have a livelihood, but they don't know how to sell. So why is sales such a dirty word?
Oh, it's become even dirtier the past sort of 8 weeks as well, since lockdown and shutdown. Sales has a bad reputation. You think of sales and you think of double glazing, you think Wolf on Wall Street, you think timeshare, and you bought yourself a shed in Benidorm. But actually, really great selling in my mind is about people, and it's about nurturing relationships. I would never even think about going to fix a car or look under the bonnet. But actually, the way we consume information, the way we want to receive information about products that we might like to buy is absolutely key. And if you don't understand that talking to your customer all about you is going to turn them off, but actually if you talk to the customer all about them, it will turn them on. And if they, before you do anything else, if you understand they have got to like you, then you'll sell more. It isn't a, I've got this, it's great, do you want to buy? It doesn't work like that. They've got to like you, and you've got to be, I think many rookie salespeople do something called the show up and throw up, and they'll meet a client and it's all about them, the deal, the price, the information, the data, the stats. Nobody cares. Your customer doesn't care if your presentation or your pitch begins with "we do," "I am," "our people." Yawn, sit down. Talk to me about your customers. It's got to be customer language first, but above all else, and it's limbic brain, it's biology, people need to like you. If they like you, you've got a fighting chance. If you then do the right thing, if you pay it forward and you are kind and you are looking out for their lifetime interests of their business, not just a transaction in the moment, then you're going to do brilliantly. But if you're a hustler, if you're dealing in the moment and you're doing the whole 80s always be closing thing, you might get that one transactional deal, but you're not going to get a client for life. And particularly over the past 8 weeks and lockdown and COVID, it's looking and securing the relationships that you've got that customer today, 18 months time, 2 years, and then better still, lowest hanging fruit, they refer you.
And this is the nub for me. So if you look after that customer and you keep nurturing that customer, not only are they going to stay with you as long as you're delivering value, they're going to keep referring you. So it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But too many small business owners, because they need that next sale, land that client and then think, do you know what, I've sorted them now, I don't need to worry about it. And then they go off chasing another one and they don't look after the first one.
Yeah, and big companies as well, Gary, media companies, I've worked in them. You hit your target goes up. You hit another target, the target goes up. It's about pleasing the shareholders before the customer. But it's the customer that's fundamentally going to keep that business going for years. And unfortunately, when you've got salespeople, and I hope that targets are being reevaluated across the UK now, because if we're looking at targets that were set in January, they've changed. For some, they need to be higher. Business is booming and buoyant, and for others, it's gone off a cliff. But if you're just looking at the transaction, then no, that's not good.
So you were sharing an example with me on when we spoke earlier today of an accountancy client where their fee earners that were customer facing were kind of scared of being customer facing, and you know, I've got a couple of clients in the same sector, and I'm using these as an example. Many others apply, but in many instances, when I'm working one-to-one with clients, they're selling a product or a service, but there's other products or services that they're not yet buying. So sales isn't necessarily about rocking up and doing a sales pitch and I am, so on. Sales is often about listening for challenges and issues and problems and opportunities and saying, well, we can solve that. And that's where you increase the lifetime value and the advocacy from that client. So sales isn't about that kind of proactive, outgoing selling. It's about relationship building and listening, right?
Prospecting is definitely about going out, filling your pipeline, getting the inquiries, building your referrals, not leads, by the way, referrals. We don't want leads. Well, we do want leads, but referrals are far better. But actually, in terms of selling, every single person within every organisation, in my mind, should take ownership of being an ambassador for that company. Because if they're passionate and excited and love who they're working for, their own business, that will radiate and that will equate to referral business. Sometimes, and I can't speak for all, but I get a lot of inquiries from the professional services like legal firms as well, whereby there's been, in fact, I've created a new character, Mervyn. Historically, cases have just landed on their desk because they've been established since 1834. And the ones that are switched on are now working out that they need to be proactive and getting to know people. And it's the solicitors and the law firms and the professional organisations who are out virtually networking, just not selling at all, but just building relationships, who will get cases given to them. And that's not about price. That's not about price. That's, I know you, I know you'll look after me. Yeah, it's people at the core of it, through all of it, it's people.
And this concept, Sally, you know, we've all seen it over the last 12 or 18 months. We go to the fuel station and top up with fuel, don't we? And we get to the till and say, do you want a bar of chocolate? Or you go to the drive-through for a burger and do you want fries and a drink with that? Or I was at Starbucks earlier today and, you know, do you want a sandwich with that? This upselling to your existing loyal customers is really, really easy to do. But if I put it in the terms of what you just said, you know, how many times do we speak to a lawyer about a contract at work, but they don't say, have you got a will? Have you got this? Have you got, they don't naturally upsell because they're sat in silo departments with their own individual targets, aren't they?
Yeah, so that comes down to communication in the business for the bigger companies. You mentioned earlier about listening. Listening is absolutely at the core of selling. The conversation in the main should be you, and by listening, I mean really processing what you have heard, not just hearing it and what I call listening with but really listening. And probably one of the easiest tricks, something that I've taught, and this has seen people's sales go up by 33%, so I hope you've got your pens ready, but using something called a mop-up line. So at the end of every single conversation with your clients, what else can I do for you today? How else can I help you? And some people go, well, that's a bit weird to say at the end of the call. No, really, it's not. Because actually, if you're delivering the best client service, what you're doing is mopping up and you're just checking, what else can I do for you? You're my client. I love working with you. What else can I do for you today? How else can I help you? No charge for that one. I hope you've written it down. Please be in touch when your sales have gone up 33%. That's like, yes, I have.
But it's not difficult, is it? How, what other problem have you got that I can help you with?
But it's habit. It's like anything. So if I did that exercise in a training room or in a virtual Zoom session, I will target people with actually using mop-up lines for 28 days. I've taken in mops to businesses before, so they move the mop around the desk. We've had prizes attached to the mops, because like everything, it's no different from reading a brilliant sales book or doing sales training. You can watch it, you can say that was nice, and then do nothing with it. And accountability and measure of return on your time is key. So mop-up lines, brilliant, but you've got to make them become a habit. So every single day I'm going to use mop-up lines and keep a visual record.
Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant one. So hopefully most people have taken note of that. Sally, what other mistakes do small business owners and their team make when it comes to selling or not selling? What are the other mistakes that they're making?
There's some people think just saying thank you. It is the easiest, smallest thing in the world, but just saying thank you for being my client, picking up the phone, thank you, particularly through COVID, where I think times have been so unusual. Being the person that picks up the phone to say hello, how are you? You're not selling them anything. You're just checking in, how are you? Or saying thank you. And sometimes people think, well, I haven't got anything to say to them. They're your customer. Just ask how they are. So saying thank you, keeping in touch with, it's not always about the dollar or the sale, just keeping close. Being kind, what's relevant for your customers. There's a few people on here where maybe I've seen a webinar that I think they might be interested in and I've just forwarded it. Paying it forward, referring people, saying thank you on LinkedIn. I've got an amazing accountant and I posted them on LinkedIn. There was about 5,000 views, that's by the by. Off the back of that post, they had two call inquiries and they've won business from it. They didn't ask me to do it, it's just the right thing. But here's the thing, when you're paying it forward and you're taking the time to pay it forward and you need to time block to do this, it comes back at you, Gary, time's over.
And because you've got that accountant that you're an advocate for, if you've got a block in your diary to do some paying it forward, which you said, and that's a really important tip, is that time block to do it, because otherwise I never get round to it because I'm too busy. You get to the end of the day, 6 o'clock, you've not made a dent into your to-do list. Oh, I meant to go on LinkedIn and pay it forward. So put that time in. So because you're an advocate, they've gotten value from that, because the people, those eagles in your network, trust you. They trust your judgment.
Yeah, time blocking is an absolutely massive one, particularly for prospecting, for filling. So before we're doing any selling, for prospecting, for winning business, for filling your pipeline. And I refer to a character called Every Excuse Ed, who some of you might have met, and he will use every excuse possible. It's raining, it's too hot, it's too cold, the economy's shit, we're in recession. Every excuse going, my desk isn't tidy. And actually, when we talk about your Brian Tracy, the frog, actually time blocking, I'm going to do a 90-minute block without any interruption. For anybody who wants to really prospect and fill the pipeline, who is struggling to get sales, I would challenge you for the rest of this week from 8:30 till 10 o'clock. Don't even look at your emails and just hit your CRM and phone your prospects and put that call in. I read a stat last week that telephone calls have gone up by 25% over the past 2 months, because people are valuing the personal, intimate touch of having a phone call. So if you are phoning a prospect with a correct call, which I always help with, there's more likelihood you're going to get through. But if you've really got an issue with sales and you want to fill your pipeline, time block, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, hour and a half, 90 minutes, hammer the phones, have fun with it, really matters, and your pipeline will be full by the end of the week.
But what you're saying, and that's key, that time blocking, because how many emails do you really get through in that hour and a half? Because you jump onto social media, you pop into Dropbox, the phone rings, there's somebody at the door, the kids are being, before you know it, you've not really eaten into your to-do list, and you are an hour and a half in. So time block and do it. But, you know, how often do we build advocacy by doing that? And it's not the selling bit, it's just ringing up to see how you're doing. Is there anything else that we can help you with? Did you get that problem sorted out that we were chatting about a couple of weeks ago? You're not selling, you're listening and you're adding value, which by nature is selling, right?
All the time. Always people being into, I do think that the sales environment, which is why I've rewritten most of my courses, the sales environment now for prospecting and selling and client service is different to 8-9 weeks ago. I think we need to be more empathetic. But actually, nobody ever got offended by you picking up the phone. And another top tip, if you do get a voice answer phone message, always, always, always leave a message. Because if you're building familiarity and brand awareness comes with familiarity. If they like you, you're familiar, you'll be more trusted. You are more likely to have your call picked up when you've left a voicemail twice, they've seen you on LinkedIn, you've maybe sent an email, and they've seen you on a virtual networking and webinar from Tugging a Topic.
Absolutely. And do you remember the first time we ever met face to face?
It was, it's etched in my diary, Gary.
And I gave you 2 tips, didn't I? What were those 2 tips? Can you remember?
No, sorry.
One was to time block.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because you said, how the hell do you get through so much work and run 3 businesses when there's only so many hours in a day? And tip number 1 was time block.
And your phone as well with your accounts.
Yeah, well, Xero and all of those things. But the other one was outsource all the stuff you don't want to do, that you don't love. You might even be good at it or brilliant at it, but you shouldn't be doing it. Outsource all of that to somebody else to free the time up so you can do what you love and or engage with those customers and prospects.
Absolutely.
Because the reality is, for most of us, those watching this call live, those watching it on replay, is that some of those things you just never get to the top of your to-do list. And it's because you're doing a whole bunch of stuff that you shouldn't be doing, because your diary's not time blocked, and you're doing stuff that you should be outsourcing or delegating to members of your team.
And eat your fat frog first. Your big, fat, ugly frog, that's the one to eat first. So for a lot of people, if it is sales, it's prospecting, and they'll do anything. They'll sort the CRM out, sort the desk out. And that's no different from a kid when you start cleaning your bedroom rather than do your homework. Yeah. But actually, if you eat your big fat frog first, the ones that are going to give you 80% of value to your day, happy days. But pick up the phone.
Absolutely. Sally, what other common mistakes do business owners make?
Sometimes the deal on price. And if you've got it right, if you're really helping your client to buy, and you know from your heart you're giving them the best that you can solution to what they need, then that's not about the dollar all the time. Only 33% of people buy on price. I'm not negating that price isn't important for some business, but it is definitely not the be all and end all. I took a call from someone only last week who was trying to sell me a membership to a particular networking group. And my conversation was along the line that it's a great price. It actually is a great price. And I think the value's there. But I'm already into networking groups, and until I know what's happening with them, I won't be looking to do anything. And then he came back with, well, as you're a friend of such and such person who organises it, and you're doing this for us and that for us, special offer and deal. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Lifetime relationship. It's not about the dollar. And also recording stuff. My CRM is absolutely invaluable to me, but a CRM is only as useful as the people in the sales teams who are updating it. So if you've got one, use it. Record, set tasks on it. Keep a note of what the dog's called or where they've been on holiday, because all of that stuff really matters. So track what you're doing.
And it is those little wow moments for me. You know, I was reading one this morning that somebody shared with me, and it really stuck out. So this was an accountancy firm, and we know that accountants, as a general rule, can be a little bit stuck in the ways, some of them. But what this particular accountants firm do is they get one of their team to ring up a couple of days before the appointment and say, well, look, we're just confirming our appointment on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. We've got you a car park space reserved, so please have a look when you get here because your name will be up. But just what is it that you drink when you're in work? Oh, I have a such and such latte with a brown sugar, and then make a note of it and add it to the CRM. So when they turn up, there's not another parking space. Then the receptionist goes, oh, hello, Gary, or hello, Christine, not, oh, who are you? So they're expecting them and say, oh, your latte with a brown sugar is ready for you in the boardroom. Okay. And that, the difference between that, who are you, can I get you a drink, and hi, Christine, we've been welcoming, we've been expecting you, your drink's already ready. That's a difference. That wow is a difference between good and great.
It's about being extraordinary. There's many ordinary salespeople, client service people. There's many ordinary companies in the United Kingdom. It's about being extraordinary, and that takes time and it takes attention to detail. Whether it's, I've been to a firm once where this car parking space is reserved for, fantastic. But it's the difference. It's the overshoes if you're going into people's houses. It's the little thank you note. It's the referral on LinkedIn, the paying it forward, the going out of your way. But you should kind of just do it because it's the right thing to do. But by doing the right thing, you'll get it back times over.
And all of those things are what I call touch points. All of those are opportunities just to leave a footprint, a lasting impression with a potential customer, a potential prospect. And if we don't get those touch points right, then you're not standing head and shoulders above your competition, are you?
I totally agree with that. But doing them because it's the right thing to do. Sometimes, like this guy with the special offer because I was somebody's friend, and it wasn't. He just wanted to close a deal, and it's transactional. And looking at again, I think more so now in the last 8 weeks, looking at your client and the lifetime value of them, not thinking they're not going to buy today, so I'm off, because it just leaves a bad taste.
Yeah. And look, it might not be the same person that invited me to a networking last week, but they said it's free for the first 3 months and £6.25 a month thereafter. And I said, look, with all due respect, I'm already in other networking groups, but that price point suggests to me that every man and the dog are going to go, and therefore I'm not sure it's the right kind of networking for me. So sometimes putting a higher price point on something makes it more exclusive and more likely to be valued.
Knowing your worth. I remember last year, a company in Derby, after they'd seen proposals and prices, came back and told me what they wanted to pay, and I politely declined because I know my worth, and that isn't arrogant. Actually, that's really confident. I know that the return on investment you'll get from me will impact on your bottom line. Buy cheap, buy twice.
And it is buy cheap, buy twice, isn't it? But another tip, another conversation that I sometimes have with a client. So let's say I'm onboarding a client and they get into that price discussion, and can you shave a couple of quid off? Can you do us this? Can you do us that? And I go, well, look, here's the deal, right? I could drop you a few quid off to land you as a client, but then I'm going to really feel resentful that I've done that, and I'm going to be looking for opportunities to cut corners, because I want to make sure I protect my margin, and that's the only way that I'm going to protect it is if I cut corners. And if I cut corners, I'm going to finish up not doing a very good job, and then me and you are going to finish up falling out. We're going to have a difficult conversation. So I'm not prepared to put your business in a position where I'm considering cutting corners because you beat me up on price.
I think if you've given a solution to a client and you're helping them buy, and you absolutely believe in your gut, in your belly, that you are going to deliver a clear return, be that motivated teams, really slick salespeople, or a client service that's extraordinary and wins awards, then actually the price bit comes later, because the return on investment will be huge. Sometimes if I'm asked about price or investment at the top of the call, I tell them it's many thousands of pounds, but worth every penny. Laugh and move on. And there's something quite sweet in price conditioning, because then you're in a good negotiation.
Absolutely. And I often say that if somebody's really questioning your price when you get to that point, and you've built the relationship, you've added the value, you've got the testimonials, if somebody's challenging you on price, you're either talking to the wrong customer type, so you got your avatar wrong, or you've not articulated your value, which comes down to selling skills.
And if you're a salesperson and you've used what I call the WhatsApp correctly, so you fact find and you understand their margins, you understand what their long-term ambition is, so again, not transactional, and you can see that you fit into that, no brainer.
Absolutely. Sally, you were talking earlier about, you know your niche, and I can I can list a handful of trainers out there, some of which I work with, some of which I have worked with, that offer everything. Some specialize in sales. But, you know, for those people that are interested in upping their game in sales, what would you say differentiates you from all of your peers?
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I don't train and go. I'm one of the, I think, and it's taken me a while to get there. I am so proud of the relationships I have with the organisations I work with. I know their sales teams, I might know their FDs, I can have a little chat with the lady on reception. Training for training's sake does not excite me or do it for me. That's not going to get my business referrals. When I work with, whether it's individuals, maybe like Zach, or Amanda's company or Dan's, I get to know the team and I stay in touch with them. I'm not going anywhere because I'm not here to train for the minute. I'm here to see your business grow and I want to be a part of that success. If you are I've actively walked away from this. Is about 3 years ago now. There was an organisation I was working for, and it was training as a tick box exercise. And what's the point of me training a receptionist at the swimming pool to do business development and use LinkedIn? But it was a tick box. I've walked away from it. I need to wake up in the morning, be excited about who I'm working with that day, go to bed, you know, when you're proper knackered and your head hurts because you're so tired, but you're smiling because you know you've absolutely delivered and done a great job. And that people are using what you've taught them. That's not going to happen if there's no accountability. That's not going to happen if there's no targets or measures. So I train and stick around, and usually the organisations I work with, about 4 to 6 months. But people that I've trained years ago, I'm still in touch with now, and I'm really excited to be and watch as their business grows. And also commercially, quite sensibly, I look after them in the future and move forward. They're going to refer me.
Yeah, and look, you know, that is key, isn't it? You know, you've coming back to that purpose bit. You've got to love the customers that you work with. You've got to be there for them 24/7, whether they're the, you know, crest of a wave or not. But what you're saying there is, you know, knowing intimately the receptionist and how they work and the sales teams and the FD and all the rest of it, you know, what that's actually telling me is that that's what you're teaching your clients to do with their clients. You know, if you don't have that level of relationship at every single touch point across the business, then it's only as good as the weakest link, the weakest relationship.
And being able to, so when I'm training, if I'm training on cold calling, I'm not going to sit and show people or tell people this is what you need to do. I will do that, and then I'll sit next to them, and then I'll do it. And then one guy, Andy, we were calling care homes with a view to getting into care homes, which would be even trickier now. But anyway, we were calling care homes, and I said, he did 2, and it wasn't working. He'd be like, hi, it's Andy from Dadla, not really working. I was like, come on, give me the phone, because I'll do it. And then I got the appointments, and I'm going to swear, he went, you're good, aren't you? And it's like, I'm not just talking the talk, I can do this stuff. This is in the middle of me, client service, sales. So I'm a trainer who will train and deliver and show you how to do it, not just talk the talk, give you a nice fancy PowerPoint slide, take your money and clear off. That's absolutely the epitome of, that's why I set the business up, because that's what that company did years ago.
And this is what we want to dig into today. You know, it's not about delivering training for the sake of it. It's about delivering training that lasts and makes an impact and delivers return. And, you know, what's key for me and what I love absolutely about you is you just like Tigger every day. You've got an energy and a fire in your belly for what you do. And, you know, there's too many small business owners for my liking, are working with clients that don't fire them up. They're just going through the motions. And, you know, we've got a choice, haven't we, to work with clients that actually put fire in our belly every day.
Well, we've got a choice to wake up every single morning and be the best version of ourselves. There is so many, without doing like too deep and meaningful, there are so many people who every single morning, it's actually an effort to get out of bed, get dressed and get on with the day. And I feel truly, this is going to be, we're truly blessed that every single day I can get up, I can do something I love without effort, and I can be excited about it, and I can share that passion and energy. And so I kind of then think it's my duty to crack on and do this, because there is enough in life to grumble about if we go looking for it. But I've got however many minutes I've got in today, I want to make every single one of them count. And I'm fortunate that I can do it in my own business, doing what I love. But I kind of think, why would you want to get up in the morning to moan about the day and be anything but your best?
Yeah, and that's the key element of Persome, bringing this right round, is it's doing what you love doing and what you're good at and how you can deliver a difference, you know, understanding what that is, but then can you do that every single day? Because, you know, having fire in your belly occasionally doesn't get you motivated when you've got a down day. You know, doing something that you love that just comes naturally every single day is you truly living out your purpose in your business.
Mm.
And I think, you know, getting business owners to be able to do that is gonna just stop this high level of failure that we get.
I've got to acknowledge at the beginning of COVID, sort of early April, I didn't feel as buzzed and as passionate as I do now. I hate that it's the big buzzword of pivoting, but I've really had to look at a point where I thought my business was going under and cried, and actually go, okay, how do we make this work? But that's back to the Eagles and the people in my network going, come on, Sal, when you're doing virtual, there's something in this. So I think it's okay to have those moments where you wallow. But then there comes a point where you go, actually, do you know what? I can take all this content. I can take the training. I can go out and make this live. And piloted some courses. You can still have that same positive impact. It's just the way it's delivered is different. But that does come back to having Eagles in your corner who are around to support you.
Of course. Sally, just one last question for me, and then we'll open it out to anybody that might have any questions. So, you know, for those that are with us this afternoon, just have a think about what questions you want to ask.
Harder the better.
Sally, what can, you know, I've heard all of this, you know, you shouldn't be selling, you shouldn't be marketing, it's insincere, it's inappropriate. And I'm not a believer in all of that, because some people still need help in areas and they still want to buy. What can people watching this, listening to this, what can they do to maximize the opportunities available to them when UK is finally open for business?
Okay. Well, the UK is open for business right now.
Okay.
Business is being done. There will be some businesses that will come out of this or won't, but business is still being done. So actually the biggest thing anybody who has a client base can do is keep in touch with them. Pick up the phone, send the card, keep in touch, keep in touch, keep in touch. When we come out of this, the world might look very different. But if you're the person that's not thinking I'm waiting for it to get back to normal, time to crack on, embrace Zoom, pick up the phone, engage with your customers. Because I heard the phrase the other day, cream rises to the top and tough people survive tough times. And this might be tough, but our people who lived many years before us through the Great Recession, Second World War, they showed us how to do it. We can now jump onto a call. We can still sell on Zoom. We can still interact with our clients. We can have meetings through Teams. There is more potential now for a sales team than there was 8 weeks ago. If you were geographically bound, you've now got the UK on your doorstep. It's just, I swear to God, it's so exciting. Please don't think I'm being insensitive to the businesses that have just gone, like your cafes, your restaurant and entertainments. I get that. But there is opportunity for businesses out there. People who have some businesses who are selling medical supplies or care homes. So some winners, some losers, but business is still definitely being done. And if you are one of the tougher ones, if you are the cream that rises to the top, be the person that's actively prospecting on your online networking. Get involved. Even if you are thinking, oh my God, it's awful, not me. You have two choices: get involved or sit down and go home.
Absolutely.
That sounds harsh, doesn't it?
And yeah, look, it is, the reality is that, you know, if you sit back waiting for it to happen, you're going to miss out, right? I've got a client who, they sell training, levy training into engineering businesses, into care homes, etc., etc. And there's not a lot of training going on in care homes right now for all the obvious reasons. So he took the opportunity to ring each of his clients and say, how's it going? How are you? Da, 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 da. What are you really struggling with right now that I can help you with? And some of them said, you know what, we're struggling to get hold of basic provisions like bread and eggs and milk. And he said, leave that with me. Made a few phone calls, found a provider, made sure that they were all, they crossed all the T's and dotted their I's as far as, the protection and the distancing and all the rest of it. And he actually arranged for them to have delivered all of the provision. It was nothing at all to do with training, but he sorted that out for them. Now, is he going to be front of mind when they want to pick the training back up? Of course he is.
Yeah, I heard about a restaurant owner who'd set up a delivery service locally, and it's really taken off, and she's now put it into other areas of the community because she was sat looking at a restaurant that's empty, but she went to the local butchers. There's success stories out there. And unfortunately, sometimes listening to the news, thinking about what might be in the recessions, we've got today. And today you can be on webinars, today you can be online networking, today you can be putting the calls in, and today you can be making every second of it count. And then you'll have a full pipeline. And if you're looking at your customers for life, not transactional, then there'll be good times ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic. Sally, you've shared some absolutely fantastic insight for us there this afternoon. I'm just going to open up this for a few.
I've got a little Zoom top tip I want to share, Gary.
Oh, sorry, go on, Sally.
So the reason that we all consume is mainly because brands are familiar, and we'll go and buy the likes of Coca-Cola or Walker's Crisps. One of the speediest ways to be a million, Joe, you've done this, some of you have, but most of you actually haven't. If you want to become more familiar and reinforce your brand, then if you look at the screen at the moment, you'll see it says Sally Roberts for Fun Training, and Joe's done it, Joe at Data Bubble. Amanda's got MJ Ryder there. Do you want me to show you how to, just nod at me or wave if you want me to tell you how to change it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Very interactive. As you look at your box on your screen, you'll find a blue box with 3 dots on. In those 3 dots, if you drop down, it will allow you to rename. After your name, you can then put your company in. And then you'll just go back. Every time then that you are on an online networking or a webinar, everybody will be able to see straight away, Matt Phelps, Protect 365, or what exactly it is that you do. And then if somebody is looking to work with Elaine of House of Colour, or Joe at Data Bubble, or Joelle at Cedar Court, straight away they can place you for what you do. And it is just one tiny little Zoom trick that I've learned over the past 8 weeks whilst rewriting the Zoom course, but just a little top tip, because it's all about familiarity, and that comes from people knowing who you are and what you do.
Fab tip, absolutely fab. And obviously get your background sorted out with a banner stand or a display. So anybody got any questions? It's an endorsement from Jim, great session, great re-energizer. Thanks from Joelle, Scott, Mike. Tony's got no 3 dots. Perhaps we can pick that up separately. But anybody got any questions for Sally, please, or even myself, while we're on the subject of how to be a sales ninja? Thoughts on a CRM system from Kate? Any books or references you would point people to?
Oh, yes.
So let's start with it. Any thoughts on a CRM system?
CRM system, there's absolutely loads out there. I use one called Cooler Hub. CRM systems are sensational if you use it. If it's just a piece of software that sits on your computer and you don't actually bother putting in the detail and updating it, then a waste of money. But I would absolutely be lost without my CRM. I also know companies who have spent thousands on them and the sales teams don't use it. Waste of money.
Yeah, I think my tip for CRM systems would be really take time to understand what you want to use it for, because if you don't get your specification right, you're going to finish up with the wrong system, and it can be expensive. But also, you know, that every email address is gold dust for a business. So if you're not maximizing the opportunity that email address gives you, then you're losing out. So really understand what spec. So what we've got here, Justin, you're going to have to ask a question in here, please. I'm afraid I can't unmute you, otherwise we'll be here all day if I unmute everybody. Any books to recommend? Gary Hibbard asked.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking to Prospecting by Jeb Blount, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. Also, for the brain stuff, you Simon Sinek and Steve. Oh, who's my chimp guy? Steve. Oh, it'll come back to a Chimp Paradox.
Yeah, it's come from me as well.
Yeah, Sales Bible. Steve Peters, thank you. Sales Bible is another one. There's absolutely loads out of them. I make a point of reading them all and rereading them, and I kind of take the best bits. Even Dale Carnegie, he wrote a long time ago, 91% of your customers will refer you, but only 11% of your salespeople ask.
Yeah,
so there's
absolutely.
Some incredible books out there. There'll be one soon about Sally Roberts. It's going to be amazing.
And you mentioned earlier about this kind of Be Extraordinary. That comes from Simon Sinek's Purple Cow. People have not read The Purple Cow, get it read. It's an absolutely fantastic book. Sorry, not Simon Sinek. It's
Seth Godin's Purple Cow.
Seth Godin. Sorry, yeah, absolutely. So, quick question: are you a reading or an audible?
Audible. Good time.
Definitely audible. I love it, absolutely. So Justin Cadbury, you might recognise the surname, knows a little bit about selling chocolate in the family. When you were selling to two different targets, example, a dealer and an end user who have completely different priorities, what are your thoughts?
Then make sure that your presentation needs to be about them. So it's two presentations. It's not about you, it's how your product's going to service them. So if I was speaking to an end user, that conversation will look different to the dealers. If I'm pitching to the dealers who value great quality, effective machines, they'll turn to us when. But if I'm speaking to the end users like you, Mrs. Smith, really value stepping into this car when. It's always about your customer. And if you've got two different client bases, it's two different conversations.
So solve each individual problem. And that's often a different presentation and a different question, right?
Client, different need.
Okay, fantastic. I think I've covered all questions. If I haven't, somebody shout. Sally, let's try Mentor Box. Have you looked at Blinkist yet?
Nope.
No, don't know what Blinkist is. I've tried Mentor Box and I came out of it, but absolutely. So look, Sally, thanks again for some tremendous insight this afternoon. You've been an absolute wow. Amazing. Where's the best place for people to contact you?
LinkedIn. I've recently launched, I've piloted some new courses last week. So now I can do what I do online, only very differently, smaller modules, because a day on Zoom would be like brain freeze. But LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. It'd be great to connect and network, get to know you.
Fab. So I'm going to send a note out to everybody that registered for the webinar this afternoon. That'll include a link through to Sally's LinkedIn, so you can connect with her there if you're not already connected. But just for me to say thanks again for everybody that's joined us. Great insight. As far as next week's concerned, we've got a webinar next week. I'm talking to Kelly Tyler of Speaker Insight, and Kelly's going to talk to us about building a portfolio business, how you can build a portfolio business, and how you can repurpose your content to maximize your marketing efforts. So that's 2 o'clock next Monday, the 8th, and details of that webinar will be on the email that goes out tomorrow. So thanks for everybody that's joined us this afternoon. Sally, thanks again for your insight and your time. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Yes, thanks everyone. Nice to see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Lots.